So Gen Z are really struggling to find a job these days, and in this video I'm going to review how they're dealing with this tough job market. Let's learn a bit more from this particular individual here.
Foremost, these companies are saying that they're urgently hiring, but yet they're rejecting everyone and then they're reposting the job that they're urgently hiring for a month or two later. What's up with that? Genuinely, there's been theories and comments that I've had saying that it's because companies are getting paid to do this, that they're profiting from it. I don't understand how, but just a theory. But my question is,
So just a quick clip to start with, right? So firstly, he's talking about these jobs, say they're urgently hiring, then they're actually not hiring and reposting jobs. The thing with, there is an element of fake jobs, and there's also an element of the statistics overall about companies and what they're hiring and the job market statistics that are kind of lies, particularly when it comes around election time, which we've seen this year, to essentially present the companies as being quite positive in terms of economic growth, maybe for their internal statistics, to keep HR busy, for major governments to pretend the economy is better than it is, and then also, lying about, whether these roles are part-time, contract jobs, things like that. There's so many lies around the job market and so many different demographics that have an incentive to lie, not just the government lying about, as I say, hiring statistics, but even internally they might have certain lies to keep HR busy and look like they're working on recruitment or collecting CVs for potential future positions and things like that. Or there could be genuine issues there where they say they're urgently hiring, the budget gets cut, the budget gets reviewed, and then all of a sudden they can't hire a new person. They just give that extra work to someone internally. So that's perfectly valid how Gen Z are kind of struggling to find a job in a tough job market. I think the only solution with that, again, it's not going to sound nice, but is to continue applying and try to figure out what's going on or read in between the lines of some of those instances.
why? And second, another thing I'm going to expose is what these companies are doing is they're sending you through. I've been through, I can't even begin to tell you the amount of times where they'll have you for an initial interview. So I passed the first round, right? Passed the second round, passed the third round. I'm like 2 weeks in to a company in their interview process. I'm at like interview number 4. And then they just go, yeah, sorry, no. Or they don't even get back to me at all. I shit you not. There have been multiple companies where I'm going to like the 4th round of interviews and then they just never get back to me ever again. I'm like, what the hell, right?
So the thing is when you have like many interviews rounds, and sometimes they say they're not interested, as he says here, right? And I understand they could be ghosting you. And the thing is, it's about being the right fit, because many of these companies, they do waste time, like he's mentioning here, and it's particularly, it's completely valid as to why, as I say, Gen Z is struggling to find a job. It's a tough job market. The thing is about these companies, they really shouldn't have that many interviews, particularly if you're more junior. They don't need that many. They might have one interview from HR to screen you to see if you're an entry-level employee and you're good at the job. And then they might have maybe 2 or 3 extra interviews with the manager and a team member, maybe maximum another one where you have a quick chat with maybe a team that works closely with the role that you're going for. This is how it should work, but unfortunately you have these kind of busy bodies in HR. They have a lot of time and they may waste your time with a lot of these things. So the best solution there is to be detached. Try to schedule interviews on the same day, right? In the sense that if you're applying to 2 companies, if you schedule interviews on the same day, it kind of makes it a bit more efficient for you. And that's the best approach you can take when you're doing a job search. Treat it like a 9-to-5 job. Maybe on Monday you're applying, maybe Monday each week you're applying for all the new job openings online or reaching out to recruiters. Then on Tuesday, you keep Tuesday and Thursday free, and that might be your interview days. So every week when you might have a few interviews, try to schedule them on the same day. And particularly if you're traveling maybe to central London, parts of the major downtown city, business district area that you're in, then you can easily travel from, say, one hedge fund to one private equity firm to a major bank to do those interviews. So it makes things a bit easier for you in terms of having all the interviews on the same day. It might sound counterintuitive, that is stressful, but effectively, when you're preparing for one interview, you can prepare for the others. You can look through your CV again, you can think about some technical questions that might come up, do a bit of company research, and that way you kind of have many options lined up and you've done it in an efficient way, so it doesn't feel like a complete waste for you, that you've made that your interview day where you've maybe interviewed at 2 or 3 companies. And unfortunately, the way the companies are working these days are wasting employees' time or wasting potential employees' time with many job interviews. It's very hard to get around that. One thing I would say, and one thing I've done, is after a certain amount of interviews, maybe 3 interviews, if they haven't come back with a decision, is just to ask them, could I understand the overall recruitment process? Do you plan on doing another 3 to 4 interviews, and who would they be with if we move forward? How long do you think the process would take? Or would it be over the next few weeks or next few months, just so I can gauge the progress of this recruitment process? You can put it in a nice way, but the whole idea is like, come on, can you just stop wasting my time? You can say it in a nice way, of course. Can I understand how many interviews there'll be, over how many weeks or months, things like that. I mentioned some of my videos where I was interviewing for a crypto company at one point, and they had this very long interview process. It was 9 interviews. Every couple of weeks I'd have an interview, and it really made me suspicious. And I did ask them in a nice way, like, could I get a bit of a guide of how many interviews there will be moving forward, and when you plan to come to a decision around a job offer? Because they just had me talking to one person after the other, the HR direct line manager, the equivalent team in New York, 2 or 3 people there, some senior business head, things like that. And it just went on forever. In the time I found another job and I moved there and worked there instead, and I didn't chase them too much, but it was an incredible waste of time. And the point is, though, at least over that time period, if you've got other jobs you're applying for, you don't put all your eggs in one basket and think that's going to pay off, you've got other options on the table, then you become a bit detached. So if you've got your 5th interview with one company and your 1st interview with another company on the same day, kind of ready for both at the same time, and it will become a bit easier and a bit more normal routine. Oh, I'm talking to that company again, who knows what they're going to do, but I've got another option to kind of focus on.
Out of the 1,600 jobs I've applied to, I've had one salary job offer that was around $41,000 a year to sell phones in Costco. I rejected that job offer. I turned that down. And I've been offered 3 1099 positions, which means I don't get paid hourly or salary. I just get paid on if I can make a sale. The other thousands of jobs that I've applied to, I've either been rejected or been played with through the interview process, or just never heard back from. So it's fucking crazy.
So, this is the third point he's making around many job applications. And the thing is, if you're applying for, 1,200, 1,600 job applications, however many you mentioned there, right? You should think about, are you actually being targeted? Because everyone has somewhat of a targeted skill set. And I understand if you're more junior, you just have a business degree, you're looking for any role, you can maybe be a bit more broad, but you have to be a bit more narrow than that, right? And the thing is, if you're just applying for any old job, some of those jobs will be ghost jobs, they'll be fake jobs. You don't want to apply for super low paying jobs because he got a job, he said he was too low though. Then the question, right, that's raised from my perspective is, why apply for it in the first place? Try to look for the salary information if you can before you apply. Because if you get a job offer and then you reject it because of the low pay, but you're desperate to find a job, then it really does raise the question, why did you apply in the first place then? And I understand there's a lot of time wasting in terms of long interviews, keep applying. And the thing is, how is he applying? Because there's options like on LinkedIn and other recruitment sites where you can just click easy apply and just click one button and it automatically sends your CV to the company. Those tend to have high rejection rates because so many people just click the easy option, easy apply, where their CV goes there and they may never hear back. And it leads to a lot of wasted time, right? And I know there's many theories. Why do companies collect all people's CVs? Is it to save their CVs for potential future job opportunities, to reach out to them about that? Because the company's thinking when the company is going through a growth phase, maybe they're dealing with a bit of a internal tight budget right now, but as their budget increases, maybe next year, they'll look into hiring people like you. So there's one theory there. Another theory could be collecting data from people and reselling personal data. I don't think that's as common as many people think, but that might be a case too, right? And then he's talking about rejecting a job where he was at college. Well, he's kind of selling cell phones, like fresh out of kind of college, getting a business degree. I would say it depends on what situation you're in. If you're really desperate for money and you can't find a job and you're doing all these applications, maybe take that first opportunity you have, even if it does seem a bit beneath you, because you need to get experience. You don't want to come out of college or university and have nothing on your CV. That kind of early unemployment is like a major red flag. Like, you really messed up. You didn't get an internship when you should have. You didn't try and take any opportunity you could. You weren't intuitive enough to kind of figure that out. And I think it's easier to explain like working a low quality job fresh out of university than to have like a blank year or two of unemployment. That's more of a red flag for major companies there. And it really does, like I say, depend on your personal situation and whether you can maybe live with your parents till you find a job that's more better suited to you. And just to be aware, when it comes to sales roles, there's a lot of hiring and firing there, right? So just be aware of that kind of instability if you are going for any sales roles. And the thing is, like I say, he needs to be more targeted. He needs to think about what is his specific skill set. Is his resume specifically focused to maybe sales jobs, and how is he pushing in that direction? And another thing I'll say, again, depending on his time frame, is he developing those skills? Like if he's becoming more niche, and you have to have some niche even early on. If you have a generic business degree, maybe focus on sales. So while you're applying for many sales jobs, as many as you can, at least on the side, you may be doing a sales course, maybe a low cost one. And there's many of those, many Udemy, Skillshare, Grant Cardone has some good sales training, things like that. So at least you're developing that skill while you're becoming more niche in that specialization area. So again, he's applying for all these jobs. His resume is too broad. He needs to, in effect, focus on one specific skill set, have his resume specifically focus on those sales skills. And in that case, if he did take that phone selling role, even if he did seem it was beneath him selling cell phones, at least it will be relevant to his CV and building that particular niche. So if he goes from, say, coming out of college or university with a business degree, he works as a cell phone sales assistant for a year, while he's looking to work in maybe finance and work in sales and trading. At least that's some relevant experience. I know it might not be great, and he might only be able to flip that initial job in terms of working at small brokerage in the finance industry. At least it's some relevant skills of sales skills, rather than just rejecting it and being stuck in unemployment. Or you could have two potential options, and that's typically when you're a bit more experienced and maybe you have two key focus areas. Maybe it's traditional finance, TradFi, going into sales and trading roles, technical roles there, and then you have a side interest and some side skills around crypto, and then you can go into that niche of fintech. And then you can have two separate resumes tailored for two audiences. Then it's clear you've got two niches, or one niche, as I mentioned for him, to focus on. And it's best to customize your resume in certain cases for best roles you're applying for. He's playing a game that's too broad right now, and it's not really the best option for himself.
Another thing I'm going to expose is college education. They don't seem to care at all that I have a business degree applying for marketing or management, any of these roles. All they care about is your work experience. So if you're currently in college and you're seeing this as maybe a sign to drop out, do it. Not financial advice, but do it. I'm in my last semester of college, and if I would have known, going back what I know now, I probably wouldn't have gone through 4 years of college. Just being honest.
So he mentions, education being a waste of money. Many people do masters or PhDs at universities or MBAs. It doesn't matter. It doesn't impact their career prospects necessarily. And then you've got, his kind of studies, doing a business degree, and it's kind of generic. And one thing I'd advise everyone out there to focus on building a unique skill set, which, it's easier said than done when you're particularly at the early stages of your career. But think about what's going on in the economy, what's going on in your particular niche, right? So an example would be someone could get a very generic medical degree. Let's talk about medicine for a moment, right? So say someone gets a pharmaceutical degree, and maybe they don't focus on the niche within that, but then they can focus on a niche like telemedicine, like doing medical consultations remotely, right? Which would help them be location independent, maybe focus on minimalism, live in a low cost area, work abroad, work online, things like that. So that's an interesting niche, right? If he's focused, say, on doing a generic degree like business, can he get an internship? That's the solution here, right? If he did one or two summer internships, get a bit of work experience relevant to that. And if he can't get it in sales, what is it? Maybe something relating to accounting, something experience relevant to build his career beyond the generic business degree that many people have, right? And what he needs to understand is when you have some experience in internship, even working basic jobs like he was mentioning, being a cell phone sales assistant, essentially what ends up happening is that you become more of a reliable hire for HR, and you become less risky because they think, okay, this guy has some relevant skills. At least we've got some proof track record that he has a reputation we can respect, rather than a kind of an immature junior college graduate, which is kind of common, right? Many people come out of university and college, they still haven't grown up, they still want to kind of be a bit reckless with their time and how they conduct themselves, which could be considered unprofessional for some corporate environments. And that goes back to even more general things than what he's doing here. Is if someone, say, at university and they're trying to get some work experience if they get some experience, whether it's in Starbucks or working as a sales assistant in general terms, and then they can flip that early on experience to doing a simple summer internship at maybe a small, as I say, brokerage, sales and trading type of firm. They can build upon one little bit of experience that helps them get 1 week experience here, that gives to a summer internship, to a job offer, things like that. He's not really taking that approach. You've got to take things step by step. It's easy to say, oh, I want a job at a particular company or niche. You really got to kind of be humble about how big these corporations are and how you've got to take it step by step. I'll give you an example where before I got an internship working in a major investment bank, my original internship was working for a data analytics firm, financial data analytics, which was similar to Bloomberg, so one of Bloomberg's competitors at the time. And before that, I did a couple weeks experience at a council, which is like a local government office around their financial department. I did a little bit of experience at an accountancy firm. So things like that really do help. One step leads to the other, and that's really how you progress to getting, a top role, which he could be in the line for if he does try to push in the right direction, right? And this is what I mean, this system has kind of completely devalued education, right? Whether it's getting a business degree or anything, everyone's got the degree, so it doesn't make you unique. That's why you need to build unique skill sets, as I mentioned. And the other thing is, and I know this can be a bit boring, but doing extracurricular activities at your college, whether you're head of the economic society or the economics meetup group, finance research group, these little things can give you a slight edge on your CV to help you stand out and show you have leadership potential, you have the ability to understand group dynamics, which some people just, like I say, they just tick the box that they got the degree and everyone else has got the degree. So how does that help you stand out? So any little bit of experience in the real world really does help. And I know it's easier said than done. I'm not judging Gen Z. I know it's difficult to find a job in this type of job market, So I've worked in the finance industry for over 10 years. I offer career advice, no matter your career path, to help you, guide you through this very difficult, weird job market, and also this type of weird dynamics between not only genders in the workplace, but also generations in the workplace. Because Gen Z, they're sometimes unfairly judged and mistreated by maybe the baby boomer generations, even millennials and other generations who might look down on them. But I think Gen Z have kind of got a rough deal, not only with the slow job market, but with lots of social dysfunction that is impacting their ability to kind of transition into adulthood after going through college, particularly after the last 4 years of kind of social dysfunction. So like I said, I can help you through that if you are going through a job search right now, dealing with difficulties within your career. There's a link in the description if you want to speak with me. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Gen Z in the workplace. It's completely okay to have different views. Some people might like working with Gen Z, some people might be more critical of them, but it's interesting to hear your perspective nonetheless. There are 2 recommended videos on your screen right now, and I'll see you next time.